What an amazing day it is today. Just a couple of days ago it was 91 degrees, sunny, hot summer. Now a couple of days later it is 30 degrees colder. Not only 30 degrees colder, but it's raining and leaves are starting to change on the trees, and we're in a fall weather pattern. For our nature segment today, just very quickly, we're going to take a look at some of the critters on my trail cam, and you'll notice that this is the same spot that my cameras were set up a couple of months ago. And so you'll see the same bobcat you saw before, the same coyote that you saw before, the same baby deers, the little fawns, and the same baby raccoons, only they're a lot bigger this time than they were last time. Let's take a quick look at that, and when we're done with that, we're going to look at a fairly complex subject and ask, where the Renaissance people are. Is the polymath an endangered species? But let's watch this and then stick around and we'll discuss that. I'm going to start this conversation in a very unusual way with a toy fox that my wife got at Goodwill. Let's say we want to analyze and learn more about this little fox. How do we do it? What windows of learning, of knowledge, are the ones that we need to use for this fox? It's made out of metal and some other color. Looks like a candle goes inside of it, so that it ought to, his little belly ought to light up, little head wobbles. Do we look at the way it is made, the metal, the materials, and kind of explain this little fox by the way it's made? It's certainly one possibility. Looks like there was some expense to this fox. Don't know how much it sold for to start with, but at the Goodwill store, it sold for $8. So should we look at it economically and see if it was a good bargain or a bad bargain? Is this a collectible? Is it not a collectible? Is that how we should look at it? I guess each of these different ways we look at it, we could be looking from a different angle, a different perspective. For instance, it obviously was made originally for some sort of home decor. Should we look at it and the way that it matches or doesn't match the home today? Or is it sort of a whimsical little thing that was just designed for playfulness and to give joy to somebody? Does that match? Or it's obviously a fox. Actually, I first thought it was a cat, but the more I look at it, the more I think it's a fox. It's got a fox tail and fox ears, and so do we look at it and compare it to other foxes to see how good this fox was? Well, depending on how we look at it and from what window, we will learn a lot of different things about this little whatever it is. Whatchamacallit? What country was it made in? What factory was it made in? What was the purpose? What is the purpose today? Well, I mean, these are complex questions, and it probably seems like a ridiculous discussion. So I'm going to stop and kind of drive home a point now. Well, let me move this little fox, cat, maybe it's a squirrel, fox cat, Fox, cat, squirrel. Maybe. Let's take this out of the way. And let's put me in its place as a human being. How would you describe me? By the chemicals that make me up? The biology that created me? Or would you describe me for the usefulness that I have or haven't been through my lifetime? Or would you describe me by the wealth I've acquired or I have not acquired? Or would you describe me psychologically and look at the reasons I do things, or socially through a window of sociology? You see, a human being can be looked at through a window of sociology, a window of science, of biology, a window of psychology, perhaps a spiritual window, a window of theology and a relationship with God, a window of things that can't be measured with a set of scales or a tape measure, but things that are deeper than that. All these things could be used to describe a human being. And in the old days, I don't know when the old days are, but in the old days, people that walked around, like we walked around the fox squirrel, people that walked around humanity and looked at it from all these different directions were called polymaths, or we might know them as true Renaissance people. They looked at the spiritual side, the aesthetic side. They looked at art, at music. Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci, Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, Plato, Aristotle. These polymaths have changed our world. But I have heard that the age of the polymath is gone. That there just are not many polymaths left, and there will be fewer and fewer as time goes. And these people that walk around humanity and dabble in various disciplines, multidisciplined people, they just can't exist in the world we live in. Now here's the argument for that. The argument is simply that we live in a world of such complexity and of such knowledge, and there's so much to learn that people cannot dig deep in all the different subjects. So instead of polymaths that dig deep, we have a spread of humanity where different portions of humanity dig deep in different areas. So the people we have that study medicine are better than any medicine person in history, a medical person. The people that study physics and that study sciences and chemistry are better and deeper, and the inventors are inventing things that were never invented before, and that this is all good for our human race. A potential danger that I wonder about with the demise of the polymaths. And it goes like this. Let's say I am a psychologist, and I may know more about psychology and the way the human mind works than any psychologist in bygone days. And I may feel pretty good that I understand the workings of the human mind, but I haven't studied deeply in any of the other areas. And so what I tend to think is that my window is the one true window. That is, if I am a sociologist, I may think that I understand the way the governments ought to be put together. If I am a scientist, I may think that natural sciences, a natural worldview, is the only acceptable worldview, and that anything that is beyond natural, anything that weighs heavily on things like God, or things that can't be weighed and measured, that those just aren't real. They're just illusions. I could be a theologian and distrust all science. The reason for all of this is not because we are accurate, but because we have been schooled in our particular niche. And we tend to value our discipline and devalue other disciplines. Now, that's a danger I see with the possible extinction of the polymath. And I wonder if sometimes, if we might do the same thing within our disciplines that I'm saying we do interdiscipline. Okay, here's what I mean. Is it possible that I've been so schooled in Methodism? I am, after all, a pastor of a Methodist church. Or so schooled in Western Christianity, or so schooled in my particular branch and history of Christianity, that I really don't know as much as I think I know about the other branches. Is it possible that we as Christians from one particular church write off Christians from other particular churches too quickly because they're not from our brand, not from our discipline? They don't view God through our window? Isn't that maybe just as sad as the demise of the polymaths? Well, as I usually say, the middle of the week is here. The weekend will soon be upon us when we'll get to worship God together again on this weekend. And in the meantime, you're going to probably see a lot of people. Could you imagine what they look like through God's window? The window that God uses to see people? May God bless you.